Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, everyone, depending on where you're joining us from. I'm here in Toronto in Canada, but I'm really delighted to welcome you from wherever you are around the globe. It's kind of incredible that with the technology we have available that we can bring together a global meeting. And I'm sorry that we can't meet in person because the seemingly never-ending COVID situation. But on the other hand, this virtual conference really gives us an opportunity to bring everyone together from around the world for, I hope, will be a very, very useful 2-day meeting talking about neuroblastoma, talking about the basics of neuroblastoma for those families that are new to this condition and still finding their way, through to some of the more complicated and difficult topics in terms of how we might treat relapse disease or disease that's not responded to upfront therapy. My name's Daniel Morgenstern. I'm a pediatric oncologist at the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto. And so that you don't have to look at my face all the time, I've prepared a few slides with some more attractive individuals. I'm a pediatric oncologist, and my special interest is in neuroblastoma. I co-lead our neuroblastoma service here at Sick Kids, and I also run our early phase trial program and therapeutic MIBG program. I've been involved in Solving Kids Cancer meeting for several years, and I'm really delighted to host this virtual meeting this year. So I just want to start by playing you an introductory video from one of my colleagues, Dr. Ro Bagatelle.
I'm Ro Bagatelle, and I'm coming to you from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania, USA. I'm the chair of the Children's Oncology Group Neuroblastoma Disease Committee, and I'm really glad that you and all of the speakers and organizers are taking the time to come together and discuss what's happening in neuroblastoma. A few years ago, I was able to come to this meeting in person and found it incredibly interesting and stimulating, and I hope that you will too. I really appreciate the organizers putting in the time and effort to bring together such an incredible group of thinkers, and I hope you'll get a lot out of the meeting. Enjoy.
Thank you, Ro. So just to talk about the charity partners behind this meeting and to let you know who's responsible for putting this incredible effort together, it's led by Solving Kids Cancer UK, working in collaboration with Solving Kids Cancer in New York, and with Children's Neuroblastoma Cancer Foundation, the CNCF. And these three charities have come together to produce this global meeting. In addition, for the first time, a parent meeting is occurring in Australia, led by the neuroblastoma charity there. And this meeting is running in parallel with this global meeting, and there are some joint sessions, noting, of course, the challenges of the time zones for our colleagues joining us from Australia can make that very difficult. Obviously, none of this meeting would be possible and indeed would be pointless without you, the participants. I just want to take a moment to thank you all for joining us from wherever you are. There are actually more than 460 participants registered for this meeting, so it's a very large gathering with individuals from 38 countries around the world. A combination of parents and family members, also quite a lot of healthcare professionals, charity representatives, and some representatives from industry. So really a very large group of people coming together to talk about this important topic. No meeting like this would be possible without some sponsorship. And I just want to take a moment to recognize the important contributions of the sponsors who provided support for this meeting, to Sanofi, to Jubilant Radiopharma, and to EUSA Pharma, to GRC World Forums, who are the people providing the technology behind this system, and especially to Y-mAbs Therapeutics for their support to help make this meeting happen. The other group of people I need to thank are the speakers. The charities have done an incredible job in persuading my colleagues to come and present at this meeting. And I think what's incredible about this meeting actually is that you, the parents, families, really get to hear from the leaders in their field and get to hear directly from the people who are responsible for making some of the decisions about what trials we do, how we treat patients with neuroblastoma. And I think this meeting is unique in providing that opportunity for you as family members and as parents to ask questions of these clinicians that otherwise you maybe wouldn't normally get to talk to. So one of my key messages for you as the audience is really to try and make as great use as possible of that opportunity to ask as many questions as you can into the chat field as you go through the talks. There are no stupid questions. I think neuroblastoma is an incredibly complicated topic, and it's clear actually that nobody can understand all of it. We as clinicians don't understand all of it, certainly. And so if there's something you don't understand, if there's something that's unclear, please just ask. Don't feel shy in asking questions, because the chances are there are a lot of other people out there thinking the same thing as you. So just to kind of highlight how you do that in practice, if you're listening to me now, which I hope somebody is out there, you've already found the website, and so you know how to access the live streams. And hopefully on your screen, you can see a box up on the right-hand side, I think it is, that allows you to ask questions. So please just type in that. If you don't want to identify yourself as the person asking that question, you can tick the anonymous box, but please do add in your thoughts there. In addition, there are a few extra things to highlight on the website this year. On the left-hand side, you can see a menu that includes conversation rooms, and there are a couple of conversations happening led by parents with specific experience of particular issues in neuroblastoma, one on ATRX in neuroblastoma and one on CNS relapse. And so these are rooms where there's an opportunity for a direct conversation between parents about these topics. On the resources tab, you'll find the CNCF booklet about neuroblastoma, and also links to the presentations that were given at last year's meeting. So if you want to do extra homework, you can watch those and then see what's different this year, or even quiz us on things that we said last year and whether we would still say the same thing a year on. Lots of things to explore on this website, but crucially, please give us your questions so that we can try and make this meeting as relevant as possible to the sorts of things that you want to know about. I've been told to say something about a hashtag. I'm one of these old fogey people, a bit like a high court judge who doesn't quite understand what to do with a hashtag, but there is a hashtag which is NPGS 2021, and feel free to do with a hashtag whatever one does with a hashtag. That would be much appreciated. So what are we actually talking about in this meeting? What's on the agenda? Hopefully everyone's had a chance to get a little bit of a look at this already. And I think what we've tried to do is to have an agenda that covers the huge breadth of neuroblastoma and the huge breadth of experience and knowledge that different families might have. I think, we know that there are some families who are very new to this topic, and it is incredibly daunting when you first enter the world of neuroblastoma, because it's very complicated and there's a lot of language and technical jargon that we use. And so coming up after I stop talking, we have an introductory session covering some of the basics about neuroblastoma and a chance to ask questions just to get a real understanding of the basics of the disease and how we treat it. But then also we have sessions coming up later today and tomorrow covering topics such as, what do we do if initial treatment doesn't go well? What are our strategies for refractory disease? What are our strategies for relapse disease? And then what is happening in terms of clinical trials? What are some of the latest developments? And then tomorrow, during Saturday's session, we'll talk about maintenance therapies. We'll have a discussion about the role of high-dose chemotherapy in high-risk neuroblastoma, and we'll talk about immunotherapy in relapse refractory disease, as well as talking about survivorship and some of the late effects. And I just want to kind of take a moment to acknowledge that a lot of the presentations that will be given are very medical, scientific. They will talk in scientific and medical terms about outcomes, about survival, about toxicities. And I think it's just important that we acknowledge in this meeting at the beginning that we recognize that ultimately this is really about your personal individual experience, and ultimately the individual experience that your child has gone through. And I apologize in advance if any of the language that's used in the presentations feels challenging, because when we're talking about things as a scientific perspective and talk about overall survival and this many percentage of children surviving, I worry sometimes that can hide the reality of the children behind that. But I think it's, as clinicians looking after the disease, we all recognize how important the parent and family experience is, and I hope we'll have a chance to address that as well. Obviously, just in terms of questions, we're not going to be in a position to answer specific management questions about specific patients in this meeting. It's just not appropriate. So please keep questions general, but obviously if they relate to things that you are particularly interested in, then please, of course, ask those. So in terms of the agenda, feel free to dip in and out. Importantly, all of the presentations are being recorded and will be available, I'm not quite sure in perpetuity, but certainly for a long while via the website. So if you're not able to join sessions live, there's still an opportunity to go back and watch them at a later date. And then finally, I thought I'd just kind of give a quick highlight of what's going on in the world of neuroblastoma, what's new. And I hope that this will really serve as an introduction to what's coming next. We've done our best to make sure that the program kind of covers the hot topics in neuroblastoma. But just to give a flavor of what's going on at the moment, really this is a global endeavor. And as we'll hear, there's a lot of cooperation and discussion between Europe, between North America, Australia, Japan, all of the different groups around the world. Within Europe, the new high-risk study for neuroblastoma, high-risk 2, has recently been launched. And importantly, Germany is now joining with SciPen to develop that protocol, and so to have more of a standardized way of treating patients with neuroblastoma across Europe. Excitingly, the protocol for both Children's Oncology Group and Europe is close to being amended to add a new ALK inhibitor, a new precision medicine drug. And that's actually a study that has been very strongly supported by Solving Kids Cancer. I just want to recognize them in helping to make that happen, really a global initiative. In North America, the relapse study exploring the role of DFMO in the relapse setting has just reopened after quite a long period of being closed for an amendment. The vaccine study from MSK, there's been an important publication on those results that came out earlier this year, and we look forward to hearing more about that in that session. The LEARN study, which is a study for late effects in neuroblastoma led by the COG, which I hope we'll also be hearing about, has recently completed enrollment, and so we're very much looking forward to seeing the results from that. And there are lots and lots of new therapeutic studies out there, some of which we'll hear about, looking at new approaches to treat neuroblastoma. So, there's really, as ever, a lot going on with neuroblastoma. As we all recognize, it's a rare childhood cancer, but it really is remarkable the amount of clinical and preclinical research that goes on to try and move us forward in treating this condition. So I think that's everything I wanted to say. Really crucially, just welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining. Please ask us your questions. And I'm going to pause for breath at this point, and in a minute or two, we'll move on to the next session, which is about coping with diagnosis and a kind of introduction to some of these neuroblastoma topics. Many thanks, and talk to you all virtually or hopefully at some point in reality soon. Thanks.